Hi friends, today we are going to see what is the use of game engine and different types of game engines. So game engine is used to create games. So before the invention of game engine, how the people used to develop games is that they used to write the code. They start building the game from start to finish. So when they want to move a character or they want to add physics in that particular game, they what they do is that they write the code entirely by themselves and they create the game from start to finish. So it is a very time consuming process. So where you have to write the entire code by yourself. So it is very difficult for a indie game developer to create a game of his own because before game engines, so the games used to developed by big studios where there are hundreds of employees work on a particular game, create that game from scratch to finish. But so it was actually not very practical for the indie game developers like a single game developer to develop and release a game. But after the game engines became popular, so what we have to do is that we have to just use that game engine to create a game. So it is very easy nowadays, even for a single game developer to develop a game and publish that game. So what is the game engine? So game engine is just an architecture. So it is used to develop games. So it is the functionalities like the physics, artificial intelligence, then rendering. So most of the functionalities which is required for a game development is already available in those game engines. So what we have to do? So as a game developer, we can just concentrate on the level design. We can concentrate on the graphics of the characters, then how the characters are going to behave in that particular game. So you can say that more than 50% of the game development work is already done in the game engines. So we have to we don't have to start developing the game from the scratch. We can just create write the story of our game, and we can just create the graphics of the game, and we can start programming creating the game using the game engine. So this is the how game engine works. So there are when you talk about game engines, there are a lot of game engines available in the market right now. So which game engine is good for you? How you will decide that okay, this game engine is good for me? So when you talk about the game engines, the most popular game engines available right now is Unity 3D, then Unreal Engine, then we have this Coco Studio, then we have the Construct. So then we have got the IDEs like Xcode, then Android Studio. So all these different options are available right now in the market. So which one is good for your game? So when you start developing a game, so first thing which you have to decide on is that which game engine you are going to use to develop this particular game. So for example, when I started in my game development career 15 years ago, I started with Flash. Okay, so Flash is that time that was one of the most popular tool to develop the games. So I used to create a lot of online games using Flash. So then, you can say that there were not that much popular softwares like Flash is available at that time. So I used Flash to develop the games for online. But then 10 years back, this Steve Jobs decided that he will not support this Flash on the iOS, that is iPhone, iPad. So he decided that he will not support Flash for the iPhone or iPad. So at that time, this Flash, we went through a crisis, like what we will do. So companies started to avoid Flash for developing games. So at that time, what I had to do is that I had to search for a new game engine to develop games. So at that time, there were some game engines were available like Unity 3D, CryEngine. So when I studied about Unity 3D, I found that this is like a promising this game engine which I can use for the developing games in the future. So at that time Unity 3D was not that popular, it was in the initial stages of development. So I started working on Unity 3D. So then right now this is one of the most popular game engines in the world, and I develop 80% of my games using Unity 3D. So how you are going to decide which game engine you are going to use? So if you are not very familiar with programming and you want to develop a game for HTML5, that is web browser. So at that time you can use a game engine called Construct. So when you are using Construct, it is not necessary that you should know the programming. Even without the programming knowledge, you can develop games for HTML5 using the Construct. Then it is a good tool for developing 2D games also. So if you want to create a 2D game, then you can use the Coco Studio also. So, but when you want to create a 3D game, you can use Unity 3D. And then if you want to use a big game like a AAA kind of a game like the war games or the very big project, another option you have is the Unreal Engine. So when you want to create a small 2D games for the HTML5, you can use Construct. And if you want to use the mobile games, then you can use the Coco Studio. Then if you want to create 3D games, then you can use Unity 3D or Unreal Engine. So there are different game engines available for according to your requirements. What is your game requirement? According to that, there are different types of game engines are available. So let us now talk about this Xcode and Android Studio. So what is an Xcode? So that is, Xcode is an IDE used to develop the iOS applications. That is, when you want to create a game or application for the iPhone or iPad, you can use Xcode as the IDE. And the programming language that is used in Xcode is Objective-C. So if you are comfortable with the Objective-C, you can create a game or application using Xcode for the iOS platform. And when you are want to develop a game or application for Android platform, you can use the Android Studio. So in Android Studio, the programming language that is used is Java. Okay, so when if you are comfortable with the Java and you want to develop a application for Android, then you can use the Android Studio for that. So what is the disadvantages of using these two IDEs? So when you are using Xcode or when you are using Android Studio, you can develop a game or application for that particular platform. So if you are using Xcode, you can develop for iOS, and when you are using Android Studio, you can create the game or application for the Android platform. But if imagine that you are creating a game for Android, and the game became successful, and your client wants you to release this particular game to in iOS also. Then what you will do? Then it is very difficult to just convert this Android, the game you created using Android Studio to iOS, into the iOS platform. So in most of the cases, you have to entirely rework the game to transfer that from the Android platform to the iOS platform. Same with the Xcode. If you create an application or game using the Xcode, it is very difficult to transfer that or publish that game in the Android platform also. So what will happen then if the client wants to publish that in the different platforms, like maybe virtual reality or the PC platform, then what it is going to be very difficult if you go for the one particular specialized IDE like Xcode or the Android Studio. So what is the solution for that? So the solution for that is you can use the game engine like Unity 3D or Unreal Engine. So Unity 3D and Unreal Engine supports the multiple platforms. So when you when you create a game using Unity 3D or Unreal Engine, you can publish that into iOS platforms and or the Android platforms with very minimal changes. So you don't have to make very high effort in changing from one platform to another platform. So this Unity 3D supports around more than 20 platforms to publish a game. So you can develop a game and you can publish that to more than 20 platforms. So when you develop a game, so that is you want to publish that into different platforms, then you can use Unity 3D. And Unity 3D is a very good engine for developing the 3D games, and we can create good 2D games using Unity 3D. And when you want to create a multiplayer games also, multiplayer games is a game which you can play with any other human being from anywhere in the world. Okay, so when we create a single player game, we mostly play that game with the computer. But when you create multiplayer games, we play the game with the other human beings or other players. Okay, so you can use Unity 3D to create these multiplayer games also. Then when you talk about Unreal Engine, the programming language that is used in Unreal Engine is C++. So if you are comfortable with the C++, you can use Unreal Engine. And the programming language that is used in Unity 3D is C#. Okay. So C Sharp is the language that is used in Unity 3D, and you can create games. You can create games, single player game, multiplayer game using Unity 3D. So when you have Unity 3D and Unreal Engine, so both are, you can say, like similar kind of game engine, which is having the similar characteristics. So which one you will select when you have the option of Unreal Engine or Unity 3D? So you can use both, but I have used both the game engines. But as a beginner, if you are a beginning game developer, then I will recommend you can go with Unity 3D, because Unity 3D is easier to understand. It is very user friendly. And when if you want to create the small games, not very big games, like when you go for the Temple Run or Angry Birds, those kind of games, then yeah, I think according to my opinion, Unity 3D is the better option. And if you are going to create a triple A kind of games, like war games or these survival games, or triple A kind of football games, then where you want the graphics to be of better quality or utmost quality, then you can go for Unreal also. So Unreal has got a very good graphics quality, and it is very much used for developing the big AAA games. But Unity is catching up on the graphics department also. So I always prefer developing using the Unity 3D. So in this the video series which I am releasing, so if when we develop small games to learn a particular topic, I will be using Unity 3D as the game engine. So don't worry about, like, even if you are not comfortable with or you have not worked with the Unity 3D also, I will give you some introduction of how this game is developed in using Unity 3D in the next video. So when you use the game engine, it is very easy for you to create a game instead of starting writing the code from the scratch. Okay, so when if you want to do apply physics, like if you are creating like maybe a football game, and you when you kick the ball, that ball will travel in like in a real life. So for that ball to travel just the like in a real world, you have to apply physics to that particular object. Okay, so most of the game engines which I have mentioned, they have got inbuilt physics engine. So you don't have to write the entire physics code for if you want to apply physics to that particular board. You can use the physics engine of that particular game engine, and it is very easy to apply physics to that particular object, that football. Then the football will behave like like in the real world. So when you are using this game engine, you have everything available. So it is all the physics, artificial intelligence, or the publishing methods, everything is already available in that game engine. So you don't have to worry about how to write the physics engine, or how to publish these games to the different platforms. All these things will be taken care of by the game engine which you are using. So the one of the most important thing which you have to take care of is that when you get a project from a client, or when you want to develop your own games, then which game engine I am going to use to develop this game. So this is very important, because if you you are into production, and maybe after 1 month or 2 months, if you find out that functionality you are looking for is not available this in this particular game engine, then it will be very difficult for you to change from one game engine to another game engine. You will already lose 1 month of production. Then again you have to start from the scratch using the another game engine. So it is going to be very difficult and time consuming if you are going to change the game engine in the middle of the production. So when I talk about the different game engines, you may think that it is going to be very difficult to learn more than one game engine. So it is not the very as complicated as you think it could be. Like when I changed from Flash to Unity 3D, I think it took me so Flash is mainly a 2D game engine, and Unity 3D is primarily a 3D game engine. So when I changed from Flash to Unity 3D, I think it took me about 1 month to become comfortable with the Unity 3D. So, but when I started learning Flash for the first time, I think it took me for 2 or 3 months to master the Flash software. So, but when I changed from Flash to Unity 3D, it didn't take more than 1 month. Okay, so if I am given the task of creating a game in a new game engine, maybe for Coco Studio or Construct, so I don't think it will take more than 1 week or 2 weeks to become comfortable with that particular game engine. It is because most of the game engines use the similar user interface and similar windows to develop a game. So if you are comfortable with one game engine, so if you become a very experienced with one game engine, it is very easy to learn the next game engine, or the other game engines which you are going to learn. So don't don't worry that if it will be take it is all impossible to learn more and more game engines. So if just concentrate on, or just be very experienced or with the one game. So if you decide on starting with Unity 3D, then just make sure that you become very comfortable with the Unity 3D, or you are becoming an expert in Unity 3D. So in that case, so if you are in the later stages, your client wants you to develop a game in Unreal Engine. So it won't be very difficult for you to learn Unreal Engine and start developing that game in Unreal Engine. So it is just make sure that you become expert in one game engine. So every other engines will be you will find they are easy to learn and start developing the games. So I hope you understood, you got an idea of the different types of game engines, and how to select a game engine when you start developing a game. So in the next video, I will talk about Unity 3D, and I will just give you an idea of how a game is created using Unity 3D, so that in the coming videos you will find it very easy to understand the examples which I use for explaining the artificial intelligence of gaming. So thank you for watching this video. I see you in the next video. Thank you.